Condemnation around the world and some skepticism after claims North Korea detonated a hydrogen bomb. We're live in Beijing for regional reaction, and we'll go live to the United Nations where the Security Council is holding an emergency meeting. Also ahead, rising tensions. The row between Saudi Arabia and Iran threatens not just relations between those two countries, but with other nations in the Middle East. A live report from Riyadh coming up. And the story of these life jackets, symbols of the magnitude of the migrant crisis in Europe, just one reminder of the scale of the challenge. That story later in the show.
Live from CNN Center, this is Connect the World.
Hello, I'm Lynda Kinkade and this is Connect the World. At this hour, the United Nations Security is meeting behind closed doors to discuss North Korea's claims it tested a hydrogen bomb. The US and Japan called for the session as world powers, including North Korea's longtime ally China, publicly condemned the move. The alleged test is said to have happened in North Korea's border with China, and if true, it would be the most powerful nuclear weapon Pyongyang has ever tested. Paula Hancocks reports.
Kim Jong-un signs the order for nuclear test number 4. A handwritten note from North Korea's leader saying the country is, quote, starting the year with exciting noise of the first hydrogen bomb. If this is true, it would signal a huge jump in the country's nuclear capability, a hydrogen device far more powerful than previous atomic bombs. But South Korea's defense ministry says it would be difficult to believe it was hydrogen, according to Yonhap news agency. Officials say it could be days before they know for sure. Some say they may never be 100% certain. Condemnation from around the world has been swift. China, one of North Korea's few allies, says it opposes the test, saying it did not have prior knowledge of it. South Korea's President Park Geun-hye calls it a provocation, which threatens people's lives.
It
is important to take stern measures with the UN Security Council and international community, with the United States and our allies.
The United States, Japan, the UK and others adding to the condemnation. South Korea's military is on alert. North and South Korea are still technically at war. A peace treaty was never signed after the Korean War. A United Nations Security Council meeting has been called Wednesday. Previous nuclear tests have been met with sanctions.
It can apply sanctions. It can condemn verbally. It can point fingers. But as we've seen before, North Korea doesn't really respond to that.
North Korean observers say that what Pyongyang really wants is a conversation with Washington and a recognition of its nuclear power status, a recognition which the US has said it will never give. Paula Hancocks, CNN Seoul.
Here's what we know about North Korea's nuclear capability. Experts believe the North has enough plutonium for about 4 to 8 nuclear warheads. It's unknown how many nuclear devices the regime has assembled beyond those it's tested. North Korea has an arsenal of short and medium-range missiles and is working on longer-range ballistic weapons. The North did stage a successful rocket launch in 2012, placing a satellite into orbit. But experts are unsure North Korea has the technology to mount a nuclear warhead on a missile and to target a missile effectively. Let's take you straight to the United Nations now. CNN's Richard Roth is there, and this emergency meeting, Richard, was requested by the US and Japan. What has been said so far?
Well, a large contingent of press is asking questions of ambassadors as they walk in. The Chinese ambassador, Barrage, with "What are you going to do about this?" said, "Look, have some patience." It's not likely we're going to hear much more from him when he comes out. That's just the China way here at the UN. The British ambassador is going in. We were also told by one diplomat representing on the Security Council that, look, they're going to discuss a wide range of options behind closed doors. And an appropriate response, according to this diplomat, might be the widening of sanctions. However, we all know that North Korea has been hit hard by many sanctions through multiple UN Security Council resolutions over the years, and whether it's a nuclear test or missile launches, the violations keep coming. Right now, they're behind closed doors, the early start of this emergency meeting. Linda.
And clearly, obviously, China is one of the closest allies of North Korea. Is it likely that the UN will call on China to help push sanctions forward?
It depends on how grave a threat to the region China may take this latest test, whatever kind. Just last in December, the UN held only its second Security Council meeting on North Korea, officially putting the human rights situation there on the table. And China strongly defended Pyongyang, saying that the UN Security Council should not be interfering in another member country's affairs. Now, the UN Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, he, about an hour ago, held an emergency meeting of his own with his senior North Korea topic advisors somewhere here in the UN building. And at that session, the Secretary General said he was shocked by what happened. The whole world is shocked, and he later commented to reporters on the North Korea action.
I condemn it unequivocally. I demand the DPRK cease any further nuclear activities and meets its obligations for verifiable denuclearization. We are monitoring and assessing developments in close coordination with the concerned international organizations, including the CTBTO, the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, and interested parties.
The UN Secretary General beginning his final year in office. He's a former South Korean foreign minister, and he was supposed to meet with the North Koreans last year at the Kaesong industrial complex, but the North Koreans at the last minute canceled that session. Ban Ki-moon in his final year would love to be able to visit the North to discuss peace options. Don't know if that's going to happen. Lynda, back to you.
Okay, Richard Roth at the United Nations. We will come back to you when there is an update on that meeting. Well, we are tracking all angles of this story on Connect the World. North Korean expert Victor Chow joins me in just a few minutes. He told the New York Times that the test should be taken very seriously, despite doubts about the hydrogen bomb claim.